Good evening, welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. Killed during an attack in his own home in Sheffield. Two neighbours guilty of murder are jailed for more than 2 decades.
They bullied him, intimidated him, attacked him in his own home in the most humiliating way, whilst filming the attack.
A friend says they've struggled to come to terms with Stephen's death. Also tonight, not forgotten, the founders of a new charity say the memory of toddler star Hobson will forever shine on.
This is it. They're on the beach, plunging waist deep into the sea.
80 years on, the letter from a decorated Yorkshire soldier to a grieving mother. And God's own county, a new report shows Yorkshire's home to 2/3 of all British species.
Well, it was a chilly but sunny start to the day in South Yorkshire, but what about the next few days? Join me for the detailed forecast.
Hello, good evening. Stephen Truskowski has been described as a vulnerable man. He was killed by 2 of his neighbours in an attack at his home in Woodseats in Sheffield. Today, Zoe Ryder and Nicola Lethbridge, who lived on this street, were jailed for 26 years after being found guilty of murder and robbery. On sentencing the 2 women, the judge said the attack was vicious and extremely violent. Ollie Constable has been following the case for us.
It's been described as a brutal, heartless and despicable attack, one that left Stephen Truskowski pleading for his life in his home behind me. Friends say he was a quiet and shy man who was nothing but kind. But a court heard it was this kindness and a mild learning difficulty that Zoe Ryder used to exploit him. During the trial, the jury were told how she, along with neighbour Nicola Lethbridge, left Stephen shaking with fear in the days before his death. The court heard how the pair, who lived in flats near him on Fraser Drive, here in Woodseats, saw an opportunity to fund their drug-taking by stealing jewellery from Stephen. The pair went to his home on the 9th of August last year, falsely accusing him of being a paedophile. They had planned to confront and humiliate him. They had no evidence for their claims, but launched into a vicious attack, filming the beating on a mobile phone. Sentencing the 2 women at Sheffield Crown Court today, the judge said this attack was extremely violent, leaving Stephen with a bleed on the brain that would eventually kill him. Zoe Ryder and Nicola Lethbridge did all of this so they could buy more drugs. The pair had denied murder and robbery, but were found guilty after a trial. Outside court, Detective Chief Inspector Thomas Woodward said Stephen's murder was truly callous.
At the time, they bullied him, intimidated him, attacked him in his own home in the most humiliating way, whilst filming the attack. Although the guilty verdicts bring comfort that justice has been served, this remains a sad day because it's another reminder for everyone how violence can end a life so soon, which impacts greatly on all those involved and leaves family and friends with pain and holes in their lives.
One of Stephen's friends, Mary Jones, says he struggled to come to terms with his death. She said the impact it had had on her had been unbearable. She said the attack had been evil, leaving her crying most nights. He was a special man, she said. This morning, Ryder and Lethbridge were jailed for life with a minimum term set of 26 years in prison. Ollie Constable, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
A charity has been launched in memory of murdered toddler Star Hobson to try and prevent further tragedies. 16-month-old Star was killed by her mother's partner at their home in Keighley in 2020. Her death followed months of abuse at the hands of the couple, despite other family members reporting their worries to social services. The Baby Stardust Foundation say their mission is to raise awareness around domestic abuse and support new parents. Corinne Wheatley reports.
It's all about you. It's all about you, baby.
Singing in memory of Star Hobson, the toddler's family, their friends and many others from the wider community got together on a sunny afternoon in Saltaire. This family fun day was organised by the charity set up in Star's name.
I was really quite shocked, sad and heartbroken. My own little girl at the time of the trial was 16 months old, so it seemed obvious to channel it into positive energy, and it was something everybody wanted in memory of Star.
Star was just 16 months old when she was killed in 2020. She'd suffered months of abuse by her mother and her mother's girlfriend. Both women were jailed. Star's relatives had tried to raise the alarm, making reports to children's services, but their concerns were disregarded. Star danced as her great-granddad David played for her during lockdown. Just one of the memories the family tried to keep alive with the help of the foundation.
We knew the people for the last 3 years. They've been with us all the time. In fact, me and Anita, I don't know how we'd have kept going if it hadn't been for them, really, because they've always been there, shoulder to cry on. When the foundation was set up, we thought, well, this is great, because it's going to, people will listen, it'll open people's eyes. Even after losing Star, which, we'll never, ever get over it. We hear of other cases even now, so it's still going on.
The founders of the charity want to create play opportunities for parents who might be isolated or need help.
I feel like some families or mums might find it a little bit difficult to access these things, so it's kind of like breaking down that barrier, and people that might find themselves staying behind closed doors, reaching out to them, getting them part of a community, making them feel like they're valued, and hopefully stopping any potentially slippery slopes.
Longer term, the foundation also want to raise awareness around domestic abuse, what to look out for and how to report it.
If you see something, if you feel something is not right, it's not sitting right, just help, try and help, report it. And yes, sometimes I know them reports may go, and they did, fall on deaf ears sometimes, but keep reporting, because I think people get scared to report. You could be saving somebody's life,
We feel really honoured, and we feel proud that we're hopefully doing Star proud, and she's smiling from above, and hopefully she can see what we're doing, and she knows she's loved.
Corinne Wheatley, BBC Look North, Saltaire.
You're watching Wednesday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme.
We're live at Featherstone Lions, the club where Rob Burrow first started out as a pint-sized junior, as they pay tribute to their own rugby league hero.
But before that, let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom today. A woman cleared of the murder of the Leeds University student has been convicted of slander by a court in Italy. Meredith Kircher was killed in Perugia in 2007. Her roommate Amanda Knox was found not guilty of her murder, but during police questioning implicated a local bar owner for the crime. She's been sentenced to 3 years but won't go to jail, as she's already spent 4 years behind bars. 3 more people have been arrested in connection with a fatal crash on the Moorthorne Road in Rotherham on Sunday. 20-year-old Mackenzie Ball was pronounced dead at the scene. A 21-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving on Tuesday and released on bail. 2 other men, aged 20 and 18, have now been arrested on suspicion of murder and causing death by dangerous driving. A 15-year-old boy has been released on bail. 7 men have been found guilty of a string of sex offences against 2 teenage girls in Rotherham in the early 2000s. The girls, who were aged between 11 and 16 at the time, were groomed and piled with alcohol and cannabis before they were assaulted. The men were prosecuted as part of Operation Stovewood, a major investigation into child sexual exploitation in Rotherham. They'll be sentenced in September. Young women from West Yorkshire have criticised the lack of support available for a painful medical condition called polycystic ovary syndrome. It's known as PCOS, and it affects 1 in 10 women in the UK. NHS Yorkshire say women concerned about their health should speak to their GP team, but 2 women we've met say they had to manage their condition alone. Anaya Mahmood has more.
At first glance, Alex looks like every other 24-year-old. But what you can't see is that she's been struggling with irregular periods since she was 15.
From 15, 16, 17, still wasn't getting regular. I was having 3 periods a year. I was being told what was wrong with me by someone else when I know my body, and I'm sort of saying this, no, there is something wrong. I know it's not me being silly. I know that there is something going on. they only saw the delayed periods, they only saw the heavy flow and the pains, and thought, well, it's just your average teenage girl.
Almost 10 years later, Alex was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS.
It's taken me 9-10 years now to get diagnosed. I feel like people need to be more open-minded about it and, like, at least rule it out, because it wasn't being ruled out for me. They were like, oh, it might be this, but never ruling it out, never doing the proper test to know that it's not that.
Symptoms of PCOS include irregular periods, difficulty getting pregnant, excess facial and body hair, and weight gain. The condition affects 10% of women in the UK. However, research by charity Verity found that 60% of these women will have struggled to get a diagnosis. Battling to get a diagnosis is not the only obstacle for those living with PCOS. The same research also found that 95% of women with the condition found it difficult to access specialised PCOS support via the NHS.
You have to lean on other women that are going through it rather than going to your GP, who will most likely send you away. You just don't bother going anymore because you're told, manage your weight, go outside, go to the gym, go on a mental health walk. That's all good and well, but women that are suffering with this, and we have been told by GPs, you will struggle to lose weight, so how will my weight problems be solved by going on a walk or going to the gym more?
Loreb was diagnosed at 13, but after many years and multiple doctor's appointments, says she's been given little support.
It's frustrating having to kind of take charge of it and kind of find help yourself. You become used to it, it's your life day in, day out, you find ways to deal with it. That's all you can do, really.
Alex and Loreb both say they've had to rely on their own research to manage their symptoms, but they agree that this shouldn't be the case.
GPs should be sharing more knowledge on it and pointing us into directions where we could get help, whether it's through charities or things like that.
Inaya Mahmood, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Well, earlier I spoke to Rachel Moorman from a charity which helps women with PCOS. I asked her if the struggles that we've just seen there are typical.
Unfortunately, it is typical. It's happening up and down the country and globally. It's happening because PCOS is a really complex endocrine condition. There's not enough known about it, and unfortunately it's quite typical of conditions that affect women which are under-researched and underfunded.
What are the risks if this condition goes undiagnosed or untreated?
Yeah, it's a really serious condition. So it has a range of symptoms such as excess hair, alopecia, so hair loss, acne, infrequent or heavy periods, weight, also mood and anxiety, but it also has really serious long-term health risks associated with the condition, such as cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, endometrial cancer, fatty liver disease, sleep apnea. So it's a really serious condition, and if unmanaged, it makes it that much harder for women that live with the condition to actually manage their symptoms and manage their long-term health risks.
What should women do if they think they have this condition but they're just not being listened to by their GPs?
If they're not being listened to by their GP, they should seek out another GP. They really have to learn to be their own advocate, unfortunately, and fight their corner. There's a lot of resources available that you can find through our organisation, but there's international PCOS guidelines, and they can be a great resource for people to take to their GP. Say, look, I think I've got PCOS, these are my symptoms, and really push for a diagnosis. And I think it can always help to take someone with you to just sit beside you and help you advocate.
Rachel Moorman, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, it's the eve of the D-Day landings. Across the BBC today, you may have seen lots of coverage. Well, a letter sent by a D-Day soldier who was a member of the Green Howards Yorkshire Regiment has emerged 80 years after it was written. The letter from Stan Hollis, the only British serviceman to be awarded the Victoria Cross on D-Day, was sent to the grieving parents of a soldier killed during the Normandy landings. Phil Connell has more.
This is it. They're on the beach, plunging waist deep into the sea.
The 6th of June 1944, a date in history that was to change the course of the Second World War.
Smoke screens are blown across as we dig in on the newly won position.
The The D-Day landings to liberate France were to last many more weeks. But on that first day, it was the bravery of one man, a member of the Green Howards Yorkshire Regiment, that history now remembers.
And here he is, the man himself, Stan Hollis, on the 6th of June, saved so many lives.
Company Sergeant Major Hollis from Yorkshire's Green Howards Regiment was the only British serviceman that day to receive the Victoria Cross. The citation reads that wherever the fighting was heaviest, Hollis appeared, and through his gallantry many lives were saved. His story now proudly on display at the Green Howards Museum in Richmond.
Without him, would we be standing here talking about this particular moment in history? That's how important he is.
Stan's heroism that day is already well documented. Now, though, 80 years on, a letter written by Stan several weeks after the D-Day landings has recently emerged, and it reveals a man who was kind, caring and compassionate.
It's written to the parents of a soldier from Northumberland killed in action during the Normandy campaign, with Stan's heartfelt words bringing the soldier's family much needed comfort.
The letter written to the grieving parents of Johnny Armstrong has until now never been seen by Stan's family. For his granddaughter Amanda, an emotional surprise that coincides with this special anniversary.
As his granddaughter, you were well aware of Stan's courage and bravery, but this letter shows a very different side to his character, doesn't it?
Yes, it shows that he did care about his friends that he was fighting with, and that he had a great memory for names. But they were always sort of the high-ranking names who he socialised with after he won the medal. But this puts him down to that realistic relationship he had with his friends and his mates when they were fighting. What he did and what other people did that day was just amazing, and it lets us be what we are today, that you can't forget.
Phil Connell, BBC Look North, Richmond.
And how wonderful to hear from his granddaughter there as well. Now, over the last 3 days, there's been an outpouring of love and tributes for the legend that was Rob Burrow. I know all your messages of support have been so much comfort for the Burrow family. His passion and determination was clear both on the rugby field and off the pitch in raising awareness of MND. A local lad from Pontefract, Rob started playing rugby at the age of just 7 before going on to realise his dream, playing for the Leeds Rhinos. Our reporter Nicola Rees is at Featherstone Lions, a club where Rob played as a junior. I'm sure they've got lots of stories to tell there, Nicola.
Yeah, where it all started back in the 1990s, just a junior and described by some of his friends back then as a scrappy little kid. He was told on more than one occasion that he was way too small to make it in rugby. And in fact, even when he made his debut at Leeds Rhinos, people didn't quite believe it. They weren't convinced as he ran onto the pitch. But boy, has he never stopped proving them wrong since then. And he applied that same fierce attitude, didn't he, to his MND diagnosis. Just we've seen it all the way through. Let's chat to a couple of people who knew him well. David, you played with him. What was he like? You watched him play?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Rob was playing with my brother, and it was fantastic to watch him as a young kid. He was really small, really nippy, really skillful. But you just never thought he was going to be big enough to play the sport. You'd think, well, he needs to grow. And then I remember watching him in the under-15s. I'd not seen him for a couple of years, and came and watched him in the under-15s, and he was like the best player on the field. And you just, at that point, then you knew that he was really something special, and he was going to make it in the game.
Tell me about his kits when he first started.
Yeah, that's right. Because he was so small, he didn't have kits to fit him, so his mum and dad had to buy him like a Featherstone Rovers shirt from the club shop. So even though he was a staunch Leeds fan, he was wearing a Featherstone Rovers shirt because the club kit didn't fit him at the time. But he eventually grew into it, and we bought a kit that did fit him as he got a little bit older.
And he was always clowning around, I hear.
Yeah.
Gareth, what were your memories just on the pitch, because you played with him and then you played against him? You were in the under-10s together.
Yeah, under-10s and 11s, and then I went on to play against him in academy. He turned out for Leeds. I played for Featherstone Rovers, and I got the ball. Thought I'd pick a little kid, run straight at him. He picked me up, put me on my back. He gave me a little wink and a little smile to each other and got on with the game.
He put you on your back on the pitch in the middle of a game?
Yeah.
And that was just him?
Yeah, just got underneath me, put me on my back.
What have you made of the last few days, and just the outpouring of emotion right across the community for Rob and for his family and all his teammates?
Yeah, it's been heartbreaking, unexpected, but still upsetting. It's a lovely lad, a lovely family, and big loss to rugby league family.
And David, as a team, as a club here, how are you remembering him and what are you doing over the next few days?
There's a book of condolence that will be open from Friday across the weekend, and we encourage anybody to come down and sign that. The first team are playing here on Saturday afternoon, and of course it's the Challenge Cup final on Saturday, so the minute silence and the 7-minute applause that will be taking place in the clubhouse as well.
Yeah, and we know as well that they've changed the kick-off time in Wembley. Talking about the sevens, it's now 7 minutes past 3 in honour, in memory of Rob, and also to recognise the number that he made his own. So lots going on here and right across Yorkshire to remember a great man.
He certainly was. Nicola there at the Featherstone Lions, and Rob Burrows certainly had the bravery of a lion, didn't he? Thank you, Nicola. Now, Yorkshire is home to 2/3 of all British species, according to a new report published today. That's 40,000 different living things, including plants, animals and birds. But the report from the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust also warns that wildlife is under threat. Olivia Richwald has more.
At this wetlands near Boroughbridge, wildlife is thriving. But the amazing biodiversity on a nature reserve does not compensate for habitat loss from human activity. The State of Yorkshire's Nature Report says 2,000 species may have been lost from Yorkshire over the last 200 years. 3,000 more are at risk of extinction, and more than 200 plant, bird, butterfly and moth species are of national conservation concern.
The picture in Yorkshire, I think, reflects the national trends, which are worrying. There is no getting away from that. However, I think we can do something about it. So I think while it is distressing to read the declines, which are substantial, nature can turn itself around quite quickly if we give it the supportive conditions.
Conservationists have spent 2 years analysing data to build a comprehensive picture.
This is a real patch of yellow rattle, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Their conclusion: the nature network is broken and more places must be created and protected to allow nature to spread across the whole of the county. There are more than 230 bird species here at the Staveley Nature Reserve near Boroughbridge, and we've been lucky enough today to see swifts circling about. Now, swifts used to be quite a common sight everywhere. They breed in urban environments. And as brilliant as it is to see them here, really, we should be seeing them in far more places. This is the willow tit. The report says it is the UK's most threatened resident bird, and Yorkshire is its stronghold.
We hope that the public can use the report to be empowered to make changes locally. We also hope that they could use the report as a voice for nature with the upcoming election.
But there is hope. This former oilseed rape field is now a beautiful and biodiverse native wildflower meadow.
If you have even a flower pot or a window box or a small garden, you can do this. You can do this on a small scale and it will make a difference. A huge place like this is no good if it's got nowhere to go. So those stepping stones using people's gardens, community areas are really important.
From large-scale projects like these wetlands to small pockets of nature like back gardens, every bug, bloom or bird matters if we're to reverse Yorkshire's declining nature and provide healthy habitats for the future. Olivia Richwald, BBC Look North, near Boroughbridge.
Certainly beautiful there, isn't it? Paul's here now with the forecast. Paul, people are wearing polo necks and jumpers in that report. That can't be right.
Well, it is chilly for early June.
I know, why?
Some spots. Well, it's just a northwesterly. It's just the vagaries of the climate.
Oh, it's right grim up north, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But I mean, at least it's been sunny, hasn't it? And I've got some nice pictures to show you, Amy. Welcome back into the studio. That's Castle Hill. We're going from one side of the region to another, and that's stunning, isn't it? Finally, Tyus looking over towards his Huddersfield in there somewhere. And, well, finally, I've spotted one person on the beach today. A beautiful shot. What a lovely place to be if you want a bit of peace and quiet. Keep the pictures coming in if you want to get them on the TV, on X, on Instagram and on the Weather Watcher website. So it's more of the same tomorrow. It is a little on the chilly side for the time of the year. There'll be 1 or 2 showers, but also a good deal of sunshine around, and it's a fairly static setup really. Low pressure up to the north, high pressure down here. It means a west to northwesterly, bringing 1 or 2 features across as that cold front will be very weak. It might bring a few showers late Friday into Friday night, and it's more of the same over the weekend with some sunshine and 1 or 2 showers. Now, the showers have actually been very few and far between, and in fact most of us at the moment are dry. There's just 1 or 2 showers showing up on the radar pictures. So through this evening excuse me, and overnight, we may well see a cluster of showers coming through the West Yorkshire Pennines into the Peak District and out through South Yorkshire, I think to the north and the east. It should be dry with clear spells. Another fairly chilly night, 6 Celsius is 43 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow's high water times in Scarborough at 4:33, in Bridlington at 4:55. So another day with variable clouds, some sunshine, a risk of 1 or 2 showers. But if you watch the sequence, you can see the showers, just like today, will be few and far between and quite fleeting affairs. So quite a few areas will stay dry. And with that sunshine, temperatures marginally higher, still below average. Bit disappointing, 14 in Bradford, 15 in York. There should be nearer 18 at this time of the year. And then through tomorrow evening, the odd shower, otherwise it's mostly dry with some sunshine. More of the same for Friday and the weekend, and probably into next week as well. Variable cloud, some sunshine, the risk of a few showers. Temperatures just gradually recovering. That's around normal, 17 or 18 degrees come next week. That's the forecast, Amy.
So keep the jumpers on for at least another 5 days, and then we'll see what happens. Thank you, Paul. Well, that is it from us. Mark Ansell is here from your late news, but from all of us on the 6:30 team, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.